Welcome to Your Brain on Positive. I'm Jackie Simmons, the host of the show, and we are about to take a positive turn with my friend Deepak Saini. Deepak, you were sharing with me before we got started that it has not been the most positive of days. And yet you made it to the interview and you showed up in a good mood. So tell us a little bit about the journey to get here.
Yeah, I won't get into the details, Jackie, but yeah, it's been a challenging day. Some things with the calendar and things going on, some family issues. My dog, I had a little puppy. It's not, but I mean, ultimately, the house is is not on fire. All those things can be managed. I was able to move one appointment, to a different day. I was able to leave another early, to make it here today. I was able to have my daughter take care of the dog. So I mean, we just got to come with gratitude and joy in our life, and that's something I work on with my clients. And yeah, sometimes stuff's going to hit the fan, but you just got to do your best to deal with it for sure.
One of the things that you're dealing with that I find so interesting is a tech glitch with the calendar, because I'm hearing a lot about that. Recently, someone said there were like 5 planets in retrograde, and I'm like, yeah, like Gatorade. I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently it's been a story going on in people's minds. Making it mean nothing is a great way to have your brain stay on positive, where it doesn't mean your whole day is going to be shrecked or anything else. So I love that about you. When it comes to what you do and the message you want to share and how your world shifted into a more positive tone, Deepak, take us back to this journey that you're on. What have been the highlights of it for your brain shifting?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly get into my background if you like, but I overcame some significant health challenges about 8 years ago, and through overcoming that, the biggest thing for me was, besides overcoming some depression and stuff like that, but once I got myself healthy and started informally helping others, because they're like, what did you do? And then as I've evolved with not only my health, but what I want to do and help people, like I opened my mind to the possibilities and not limited myself to what is possible from a health point of view. And that's, to transform not only myself, but also like my practice of how I work with people. So now I work with people who also have that open mind, that have that positivity and, what's out there for them, no limiting beliefs.
Oh, there we go. What would life be like if we lived with no limiting beliefs? Now, there's a good question. What dream would you dare to dream? What vision would you dare to envision? What would you allow your imagination to cook up if you had no limiting beliefs about what was possible?
Yeah, so there's lots of things, but I'll just show the one that's kind of been the center of my life and my business go forward. Is many of us, I came from a corporate world, 20 years in corporate, corporate world, you just and the health challenges I mentioned. So you're just trying to make it to the end of the day. You're just trying to make it to the weekend. I'm just trying to get to a vacation 3 months from now. If I only got that next raise, if I only this, right? But then overcoming what I went through, which I would not wish on anyone, and realizing what are the important things in life, your health, your family, it's not the next promotion, it's not whatever. And then having, again, that open mindset. So I have a publicly stated goal now to be a centenarian, 100 plus. Now, many people think like, oh, I would never want that, because people have this image of their grandparent or a parent who struggled maybe with dementia or some other, unfortunate disease. They're in the hospital or in hospice or long-term care. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living in your own home, controlling your own destiny. I plan to stand up paddleboard till my last days, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a mindset shift. And that's what I personally am working towards, and what, many of my clients want as well.
I think that reimagining aging, reimagining I've heard people call it our encore years, our second act, or there's all of these euphemisms to describe what life is going to be like now on the high side of 70. It used to be on the high side of 40, but times have changed. And so have we. So now, what's life going to be like? Allowing ourselves to reimagine that creates a very different expectation. And your path, when you were like going, and some depression, and I'm like, my own journey includes surviving 2 bouts of clinical depression. So I'm not going to gloss over what that journey is like for someone. And just my public service announcement, if this is what you're dealing with, get intervention. Work with anyone you feel called to work with, but get intervention so that you can envision something better. Because when I was in the depths of that hole, I couldn't imagine life being any better. I just thought that's the way it was going to be, and I didn't want it to be that way for very long. So coming from that background, I know that that's what drove me for a long time, to work on my own personal development, to work to become a better version of myself, anything to kind of put a buffer between me and that edge. Is that what drove you?
Yeah, I'll take a step back again. So probably about 10 or 11 years ago, I had this mindset in one very, I guess maybe 2 areas of my life. So I wanted to climb the corporate ladder because I thought that's what I needed. That next promotion, that next title, that's what would make me happy. That's what would fulfill me. In parallel, I had gotten into running after being many years dormant of doing any sort of physical activity, as many people do when they get into the workforce. So I had gone back into running, started doing half marathons, marathons. So I started really focusing on performance. So I wanted to get better. That was kind of my competitive juices. I was trying to stroke that. But then when I injured myself, so I had a back injury, besides a lifelong history of obesity. I was morbidly obese at 18 years old, autoimmune condition for as far as I can remember. But the impetus was I hurt my back, and my youngest daughter was just a baby at the time. So I had I have degenerative disc disease in my L4, L5, L5S1, so low back for those who know that. I couldn't bend over. I couldn't tie my shoes, couldn't put on my socks, could barely get on and off the toilet. But the biggest thing of all that was I couldn't pick my daughter out of the crib. I couldn't bend over and pick up a 10-pound baby out of the crib. I couldn't get out of a chair if she was in my lap. I'd have to hand her off to my wife just to sort of gingerly get off. That's where my depression came as. I couldn't golf anymore. I couldn't run, and I couldn't pick up my daughter. Well, luckily for me, I wouldn't wish, what sounds like you had, Jackie, on anyone, but luckily for me, it wasn't as severe. So I took that performance edge of trying to become a faster runner and pivoted onto healing my back. The Western medical system, I like to say, wasted 18 months of my health, ineffective treatments, bouncing around places. I finally took matters to my hand, paid out of pocket, healed myself, healed my back. In doing so, cleared up my autoimmune condition, and the last 60 pounds of that 100 pounds just melted away, in a matter of months. And that was my aha moment, and that's what drove me then to. There are no limitations once you have the right tools and the right mindset, and then that's what made me pivot to what I do now and helping others on their journey as well.
It's an interesting place to be. All right, so you had dropped 40 pounds working at it, and then you said the last 60 pounds just melted away. There's a place in my brain that's going, I'm not buying it. And that's just because I have never experienced that. What was that like for you to have to, after 40 pounds with effort, to have 60 pounds just melt away?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I'll just preface one thing. So that 40 pounds that I had lost over 30 years was, lose 25, gain 20, lose 25, gain 20, like that's yo-yo for, and it slowly over 20 years trended down, right? Some of that includes some, what many people have tried, starving yourself, ineffective diets, overtraining. Essentially it was overtraining, and that what ultimately led to my back injury, finally. But
translation, I need a translation. Overtraining for you looked like what? What were you doing?
Right. So I was training for half marathons and marathons. So overtraining for me meant doing a little bit of cardio Monday through Friday, like an hour, and then on the weekends doing 18 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 24, et cetera. Pounding it Saturday, pounding it Sunday, and then resting on Monday through Friday meant doing just an hour only, type of thing.
Just an hour.
Just an hour. So, and being someone who, I played football, at very heavy, obviously had most of my life being overweight, being obese, a lot of that, damage, carrying a lot of extra weight to the knees, the back, et cetera. So that's what overtraining meant to me. So in trying to heal my back, and really it boils down to inflammation, which is a root cause of so many things, including, a lot of things cognitively. So in trying to heal my back from inflammatory point of view, that got me to change how my nutrition from an inflammatory point of view. And when I made those changes and sustained them over, a number of months, the weight just melted away. And I didn't even realize it till one day I put on a pair of pants that were not in the regular rotation. And I thought, oh, did I lose some weight or something? And my wife was like, what are you, an idiot? Like, of course you have. You can totally see it in your face. And I was just, from someone who struggled with weight their entire life, I was never one to really always step on the scale and sort of see. I just was just trying to heal my back and have mobility. And then that weight loss was a welcome byproduct, but that's not what I set out to do.
Now, that's an important thing from a mindset point of view, from a law of attraction point of view, from everything that I've been understanding on my journey to be true. What we focus on expands. And when people are focused on weight loss, because the brain really doesn't get this whole negative thing, what we get is more of what we don't want. We get more weight. And so I loved your story. Lose 25, gain back 20. That's sort of a story that many people, I think, have lived.
Many people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They call it yo-yo dieting for a reason.
This was my typical, and maybe some people can, and not to dwell on this, but it'd come to the summer, it's warmer out, you get more active. You're like, oh, it's beach, whatever. Like I'm having a t-shirt or, tank top, whatever. So maybe make some small mental changes, like, oh, I'm not going to have that, or whatever. And I'd like, by September come around like, oh, I've lost 25 pounds. Then it gets a little bit cooler, and then you got like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I'm born in January, then it's my birthday. It's like a 3-month celebration almost type of thing. You're like, come February, you're like, oh, I put most of that back on, and then you do another cycle the next summer, type of thing. That's how I went through sort of university in my early working years, is in that kind of cycle.
Got it. So you had a lot of practice being on the cycle, where what you focused on or didn't focus on made a difference. And then you decided to focus on being able to pick up your daughter.
Yes.
The difference between losing weight, looking great, running a marathon, and being able to pick up your daughter is so significant. All of those other things mean a lot to our heads and to how we represent ourselves, maybe to other people. Picking up your daughter meant a lot to your heart.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing, Jackie. It wasn't just those other things. I want to be very clear in this, because I'll be the first to admit, and I'm not proud of it now, I was on the very, I need to get that next promotion. I need to get to that next level, because that'll provide security for our family, and that's what I think they need. Whereas what they really need is a dad who can be interacting with them, i.e. picking them up, playing with them, crawling around on the floor. So when that happened, when I was going through that journey, I could care less if I even got fired. Like I showed up to work, I did my job, not as good as I could because I was in so much pain sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day, et cetera. But I didn't care about that next promotion or if I got a raise that year or whatever. You're absolutely right. I was just focused on healing myself, so I wasn't in pain, but ultimately, yes, it was so I could pick up my daughters, and play with them and like pick them up and spin them around and stuff, which at that point I couldn't do.
It's one of those things that all of a sudden, sometimes we miss the things that we weren't doing anyway. But once we can't do them, then they become important. And I think this is something that if we can wake people up to, what is it that you're missing out on now that you're not even paying attention to? But if I told you you couldn't do it, all of a sudden it would be important. Someone once told me air is not a big deal until you don't have any.
No, that's absolutely right, Jackie. One thing I like to explain to people and who maybe are in their 40s and 50s, it's, and maybe they have young kids or maybe their kids are teenagers, and there's like, do you hope that you're going to have grandchildren? Oh yeah, I hope God bless, we should have grandchildren. Do you want to be able to pick them up? Maybe this is 20, 30 years and, throw them up in there like you do with your kids. Yeah. Are you preparing for that now? Oh, and then think about it. What do you want to be able to do when you are 70, 80, physically, movement wise, mobility? Well, you got to back into what you got to start working on now, right? So if I'll just use a simple example here. So let's say when I'm 80, I want to be able to pick up a 20-pound kid and throw him up in the air. Okay, well, what kind of weight do you need to do that motion now when you're 40? Because you will lose. I mean, you can mitigate it, but you will lose muscle loss. You will lose, testosterone, hormones, et cetera. That's changed. So what do you got to do now? So that's kind of what I work on. People's like getting that mindset now for your longer term goals.
You said something earlier about how you were living your life before you injured your back, before you had what we'll just call your wake-up call. And you were pretty much head down, and your focus was on the career, on the next promotion, on this. I think many of us live our lives kind of head down, focused. We're told that we need to focus to get ahead, that this is what we're supposed to do. And yet life can really lose its meaning pretty quickly when we focus in to that extent. And there are so many, good songs. I'm a big fan of the lessons in Mary Poppins, and towards the end of the movie, the chimney sweep Bert is like, and then they're grown and then they've flown, and it's too late, for you to give that little bit. And for you had your wake-up call while your kids were still young, something to be immensely grateful for. There's not much sadder than somebody who's living that old Cat Stevens song, the cat's in the cradle. The son grew up to be just like him, didn't have time for his dad, just like he didn't have time for his kid. That's the legacy that I don't want anyone who listens to this podcast to have to live. So Deepak, let's give them a checklist. Let's give them some things they can pay attention to.
Jackie, can I just share one thing? I think your audience would really appreciate this before we answer your question. So I started, after I had my transformation, and people started asking me to help them, like, what did you do, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So I started, coaching people as like a side thing. I was kind of like, I like doing this, but that security, I was still holding on to that old world. Eventually, the universe released me from that corporate world.
There's a euphemism that we're going to unpack.
Yeah. So that was in June. So the summer, the kids were like literally had a 1 week left of school. The only reason I'm bringing this up is that summer where I just decided I'm not even going to focus on like growing this coaching business. I'm going to focus this summer on the kids. So we spent 2 months every day hanging out, going to the park. We have an amusement park that's kind of close to our house. We went there and we had a pass. We went there like a couple times a week. That was like to this day, that's still the best summer I ever had. So I just want to share that, that's again, that whole, life gives you some or what you think are lemons at the time, which are maybe actually they're nice sweet oranges or something, but it made lemonade with it. So you wanted some tips.
Yeah, there we go. Let's take it tangible. And I do love that example. You made a decision to take advantage of an opportunity that many people might have thought was a disaster. And for you, it was an opportunity to just explore what it's like to be really present for your kids. You'd regained your health. You could pick them up. You could do things with them. Why the heck not? This is what we used to tell young people to do after college. Go take and vagabond around, the United States. Take the summer and vagabond. Go vagabond around Europe. Before you get tied down to a job or a career. And that whole language, that whole visual of adult, shameless plug. My oldest daughter's got a podcast called Adulting Sucks, and it doesn't have to, because this was the lessons we got, that it was hard to be a grown up and you didn't have a choice. You were going to have to. And yet you decided you did have a choice. And I love that story about the summer that you were just present. So thank you for sharing that. All right, now lay it on us. Take us to some tangibles.
Sorry, could you just repeat the original question before I interrupted you? The tangibles of?
The tangibles of somebody who decides that they want to change from living head down, totally focused on career, totally focused on the next promotion or the next milestone. And maybe they're so focused on the destination that they're missing out on the journey. What would you say to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I don't wish anyone to have to go through that type of journey that I or others have gone through. So where you have
I'm with you there. I don't want anybody falling down that.
I had my aha moment at my lowest point. And for some people, that's their low point is even lower, etc. So let's put that aside for a second. So for the let's call it that other person, that average person. I'm a true believer. One of the first things I work on with my clients is really I call it mindset and motivation, but it encompasses a lot of things. So, it's, incorporating gratitude into your life if you don't, or journaling, that type of thing. That's something I did after going through that. The other thing is, meditation, or it could be different things for different people. I mean, there's a difference between praying, there's a different if you're spiritual, and there's a different thing between meditation, but something like that, or combination. And I think just calming yourself, breathing, getting within your own body. I personally find so many things come up for people. And then of course working on your personal relationships as well. And I think that's part of it. That means part of your community. That's your bigger community, your that next level of your family, and then of course your immediate family, and working on those relationships, spending time with them, getting to know them. All those things matter. And I think that's a great first step. Obviously, I'm talking high level here. There's a lot of intricate things people can do, but starting some sort of meditation practice, practicing gratitude, and really focusing on your personal relationships, I think is a great first step to get you out of that head down mindset.
All right. Now we're going to talk steps. We're going to talk tangible. We're going to get it really nitty and gritty, because spending time is such a big concept. Your example was way more concrete than that. It was taking advantage of the fact that there's an amusement park nearby and going there a couple of times a week with your kids. So finding something very specific, whether it's once a month family picnic or once a week family picnic, something that everyone can look forward to, something that is planned, something that is scheduled. Taking and making it real for yourself and for your family. That's a great way to focus on your personal relationships and make sure that you are spending some time with them. And
Absolutely. Can I give a couple of examples, Jackie?
That would be awesome.
So in our family, again, to each their own, right? This is just what we've currently working on. It's ever evolving. So, obviously we celebrate our kids' birthdays, but it's not just like birthday, family, party, blah, blah, blah. We do a special thing as well. At least it's special for us. We don't eat out a lot. So when it's one of our kids' birthdays, they go to a movie. We all as a family go to a movie. It's their choice, whatever's playing. Sometimes we have to wait a couple weeks if that one movie hasn't come out yet. And then we go out for dinner as well and make it something special. Besides the family birthday, that's something special with just the four of us do. The other thing we do, and I'll be honest, when I was sick and fat, pizza was my favorite food. Now that I'm healthy, pizza is still my favorite food, but it just doesn't serve me. But my youngest daughter, the one I was talking about earlier, and she has got different genetics than me, and she's younger and she can get away with it a little bit. That's her favorite food. So it's in the family rotation at once a week to 10 days or so. So we have pizza as a family. Now it doesn't serve me for any of my goals. but I eat it we eat it as a family, and I participate, but I have it with the right intention. I have the intention of spending time. This is a family meal. I'm supporting my daughter. This is her favorite meal. And I will mitigate the deleterious effects to me by, using techniques. But instead of me eating, I'm just going to have a salad, or I'm going to have, a salmon or whatever, I'm eating with the family, the thing that she wants, and I prepare it for the family with intention. And I know I'm going to have, some bad effects, but I'll try to mitigate them as much as possible. So, just some things, some food for thought for people.
For some people, that pain that you just described, that investment that you're willing to make, could be as simple as getting up a half hour early, or turning off your cell phone for a half hour in the afternoons and actually having a conversation. Yeah, what a concept. Actually listening, which is a huge skill that I think is undervalued and that we're actually losing as a culture. So listening is really key. And you said that earlier about one of the other pieces you just shared, not just spending time in your relationships, but spending time with yourself, listening to yourself, which is what, for me, prayer, meditation, journaling, all of those are different ways of listening to what's going on inside my own head, inside my own heart.
People are maybe very familiar with this because most people have flown. You go on an airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first before, I wholly 100% believe that some could view that as, so my self-care routine, again, over, what I explained earlier, the back challenges, the autoimmune, et cetera, so my self-care routine is 2 hours a day. And I still manage to get my, 6.75 to 7.25 hours of sleep. And I track that sort of stuff. So, so besides my sleep, 2 hours of self-care. Now that might sound like, you could spend time with your family, et cetera. Yes, I absolutely could. But, and this is not a justification, this is reality. If I don't do that for myself, not only can I not move properly, I am not the best version of myself. I am not the best father. I am not the best coach for my clients. I'm not the best husband. I'm not the best son-in-law, et cetera, et cetera. There's a million examples. All my relationships are better when I'm the best version of myself, and I need to do those things for me. So that includes physical, that includes the mental, as we described earlier.
It does. That's amazing, because you're right. We're taught to focus outside of ourselves, and yet I find that to be the most unhappy way to live that I've ever lived. Because trying to be what other people want, trying to meet other people's expectations, kept me from having that time to get to know my own, what I wanted, what my expectations were. And if I didn't know me could not show up for anybody else. It's just not possible. So you're right. I really do believe it's an inside job.
Absolutely.
And that piece you said about journaling. Journaling is a big concept. Do you have a journaling strategy that you prefer?
Yeah, and there's lots of different ways, and I'm not going to say one's right or wrong. I don't have like just a drop everything that's in my mind dump type of journal. I have some key prompts that I use over and over again that I've modified from other, mentors of mine. So I list my successes of the day. I list at least 3 things I'm grateful for that day, the actions I took towards my big dreams, whatever that might be, and the actions I took towards my happiness.
Okay.
Those are the minimum things that I write down every day. Now, I know a lot of people do morning pages and this and that. For me personally, I prefer to do that towards the end of my day because I like that to be fresh in my mind before I go to sleep, relatively close to before I go to sleep. That's when I do my journaling.
All right. I'm unpacking it because this is my job. Successes of the day. Asking yourself, what are the successes from today? What am I grateful for today? A minimum of 3 things every day. And then what steps did I take today towards my vision or goal? And what steps did I take today to improve myself, to take care of myself, to better myself is sort of what I was hearing.
Yeah, I call it happiness, but yeah.
Happiness. Okay. because I knew I had missed the word as I was trying to take notes as you were talking. And I'm like, I missed a word. Okay, I'm just going to go with it and you'll course correct.
Yeah.
Those 4 things right before you go to bed at night is a key component, because I am well aware with all the work that I do with neuroscience that what you feed your brain right before you go to sleep is what your brain will chew on all night long, what your subconscious mind will mull over. This is why some people like to sleep on their decisions before they make a major decision. It's a brilliant plan to do this at night. That doesn't mitigate that whole morning pages thing from the artist's way, which can have a lot of advantages. It just means that this is what works for you. And so that's what we're talking about. This is not good, bad, this or that. This is just what is your truth. And I love this practice. It is amazing.
Yeah, I say to people, sorry to interrupt you, I say to people, the best time to journal, the best time to meditate, the best time to exercise is whenever you're going to do it. Right?
Yeah, consistency helps. So whatever makes it easy. I mean, I tell people, if you want to create a new habit, the easiest way is to tag it onto a habit you already have.
Absolutely.
Put your journal next to your toothbrush so that when you brush your teeth at night, you pick up the journal. That's an easy way to tag 2 habits together.
I like to have clients, when they brush their teeth, do balance work at the same time.
Balance work.
Yeah, stand on one leg and brush your teeth.
There we go. Yeah, if you've got a vibrating toothbrush, this could be a little more interesting microcurrent through your body.
Yeah.
So, cool. Balance work is critical, and bringing our brains, our bodies into balance with whatever your vision is. Deepak, thank you very much for sharing your journey, your vision, and your steps, the things that are working for you and what motivated you. Motivation is the missing link for many, many people. So thank you for sharing what it took to motivate you and your encouragement for other people not to wait for something like that to motivate them.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right. Thank you for being part of the journey. Same bad time, same bad channel. Make sure that you tune in, subscribe, have fun, go about your day, and be a little bit mindful about what makes your life worth living so that you can have a little more of it.
Can agree more.